Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast, brought to you today by Horseshoe Ham. No, that's not true, is it, Brandon?
It's not true at all.
No, but what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about some unwritten rules of gambling or the casino.
Yeah, unwritten rules, but how they pertain to, like, when you're at a casino. So, like, stuff that doesn't apply at, like, a home game or even charity poker or other places that offer poker. I don't really know where else there is. So, yeah.
Cruises?
Poker cruises. There you go. That's one of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of stepping out of the charity realm for the first time.
Yeah, talking about casinos. Well, it is because we're about 2 weeks away from the WSOP?
Yep. I think even, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks is, I think it was like the beginning of October, or like, I think it's pretty much spot on right at the beginning of October. If you're unsure, you should probably check out episode 49 to 2021 WSOP schedule breakdown. I'm your host today, Ken, and my buddy Brandon's on the line. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Well, you're in a chipper mood today.
No, I'm actually kind of like in a downer mood.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually really tilted.
Central Illinois. So shout out to my Central Illinois peeps, because I'll tell a quick story. I went down to Bloomington. You know this. I went down to Bloomington, but you don't know the story, so I'll tell you both. And again, this podcast is basically just Brandon and I's phone calls that we typically do every day anyways, and then we just record 2 a month, and then this is what it is.
We should really just record like
all of them,
and then pick the best 2. It seems better.
That's okay. Maybe we'll work on that. Yeah, this past weekend, Saturday, I drove the trailer down to Central Illinois for charity poker down there. We do it at a Moose Lodge. It's right in downtown Bloomington. It's a pretty cool spot. It's not too terribly bad, and there's like tons of stuff down there. Brandon was trying to give me the pep talk. He's like, "Hey, I know you got to be there all day and drive the equipment around, but don't worry about it. This is like 15 years I haven't done this." But he's like, don't worry, there's a Barnes & Noble, there's a Portillo's, they just opened up a Firehouse sub and a Jersey Mike's. Like, there's just anything I could want is there in Bloomington. It's great.
It's like a 3-mile strip of just like malls and every store you can want.
All kinds of stuff. And it's only an hour and 45 minutes from my house, so it's really not that bad, all things considered. So anyways, long story short.
Compared to the other spots.
Oh, yeah, like Mattoon, which is coming up, which is like, if you don't even know where Mattoon is, it's like crazy south. It's like legit Central Illinois. So it's like 3 hours away.
Tuscola, Danville. I mean, Bloomington looks like Chicago to these places.
Yeah, it's super close.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So anyways, I'm down in Bloomington. I'm hanging out, talking to the players. We were talking about, this guy had a podcast on, a golf podcast called Never Lay Up, which is a great name for a podcast. And him and I were talking about it, and then somehow we talked about, I think I had said, I was like, yeah, most podcasts, like golf podcasts, kind of suck. They're not that good. But I'm like, that one's pretty awesome. And he's like, yeah. I don't know if he didn't want to talk about it, but I was talking about it. And then I was like, yeah, most poker podcasts suck too. And I wasn't even doing it. And I was like, I know what happened. We were talking about Barstool, and the guy was like, yeah, that Barstool golf one really sucks. And I was like, you know what sucks worse than the Barstool golf stuff is the Barstool poker stuff. They're awful. So I felt like maybe the peeps down in Central Illinois didn't know enough about the overlay, so we got to get that out there a little bit more. Pick up all those younglings out there and people that only frequent the Central Illinois stuff. I want them to be more excited about the podcast. So, hey, Central Illinois peeps, how are you? Same thing with like Texas. I want like
Portnoy,
Austin to be excited. What?
I said, if Dave Portnoy's listening, we're up for your podcast. We're in there.
Because
give us a call.
Breaking Aces or Cracking Aces, like, one, stupid name, Cracking Aces. Like, come on. You guys are like the largest sport marketing company in America, maybe the world, probably the universe, and the best they could come up with is Cracking Aces? Right?
It's kind of
like,
weak.
Why don't we just call like the Hot Girl Podcast Hot Girl Podcast, who says sexually innuendo stuff that's great, and most guys are going to be super excited about it. Like, it's so Cracking Aces. So fucking lame, guys. Lame,
it is pretty dumb.
Lame. Not that the overlay is like the best name of a poker podcast ever. I just feel like it's way more like thought-provoking than cracking aces. I don't know. If you tell me a bad beat story and includes you losing with aces, I assure you the chances of me caring are 0.00001. You have a better chance of dying of COVID unvaccinated than I am interested in hearing about your bad beat story with aces. Okay. Episode 53.
All right.
I just went off the rails there for a second.
Yeah, you did.
That's all right. I do that occasionally. To wrap that whole thing up, what were we talking about? Etiquette?
Yeah, but I wanted to talk about the WSOP really quickly since you mentioned that, and then you went into Bloomington and then Chicago and
Rant
unvaccinated,
Rant City,
cracking aces. Yep. Yeah, they did change the rules. Now you have to be vaccinated in order to play in any WSOP event.
So if you are unvaccinated, you are ineligible to play.
But you don't have to wear a mask.
Okay.
They changed it.
Could you imagine, and again, I'm just throwing this out there, because we have two very different demographics of the poker podcast. I would say 80% of our fans, whatever you want to call it, listeners, that's a better word. 80% of our listeners, I would say, are from Chicagoland area, and 20% are from Texas. Now, you really couldn't get two more different locations politically between Chicago and, like, Texas.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's pretty polar opposites there. But can you imagine it's CCG? And we'll start there. Can you imagine CCG if we decided to say, oh, hey, by the way, you can play. You don't have to wear a mask. We're not worrying about any kind of, like, event numbers. However, we're only allowing vaccinated people in. Like, I just don't think that would go over very well.
I don't either.
I don't like it. I don't think it's right. I don't know. I think it's a poor choice. I think it's just, I don't like it. I don't.
So I heard that they were getting some reports of like the numbers that they were expecting based on the old rules, and that they were so incredibly low that they had to change something.
And
as in the not wearing masks is going to increase the outcome by a lot.
The not wearing masks but vaccinated.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you got to remember, like 70% of people over 40 are vaccinated. So, right. I mean, 7 out of 10 people in the world are vaccinated. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I wonder how that pertains to poker players. I've kind of stopped asking. I don't find it as like a topic of conversation I really want to bring up to people.
Yeah, no, of course not.
But
I don't know. All I know is from my small group of friends, I had a large number of people say, "Oh, I'm going to go now."
I mean, I guess that's good. It got them what they wanted, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of the best of both worlds. They had to do some like convention rule where it's not it's not under the casino rules, and I'm air quoting here, even though you guys can't see it, and I'm continuing to air quote for some awkward reason.
Right.
It's under like a convention law where it's like a convention of people, so they're not doing a mask. Anyways, WSOP in 2 weeks, no mask, got to be vaccinated.
Well,
so I'm eligible. I'm ready to go.
That's interesting. It's interesting. I would like to see how that goes. Maybe we'll do another episode next week.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do like some WSOP,
like updates and some things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I think those might be kind of cool, especially if this whole points bet things happen. I'm going to drop a little teaser.
Nothing.
No official stuff, but we're kind of kicking around some ideas of working with PointsBet here in Illinois. Sorry, Texas peeps, you guys don't have sports betting legal in your state, but Illinois does, and we're kind of working with them to do something. And the podcast was definitely mentioned, so I'm excited about that. We don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but it definitely, I will tease this. It has to do with PointsBet, WSOP, and free shit.
That's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, that's like saying, I can't think of it. I don't know. Probably something else. It's like aces with an ace on a flop, and the guy's got kings, and there's a king on a flop, and the turn's a king, and then it's like all in, and then the river's an ace.
Smooth.
That would be good.
Smooth.
All right, so episode 53, after our 10-minute rant between my rant of Central Illinois and the lack of imagination from Barstool on their poker and golf stuff, little WSOP update, which I like. I think it's important. I didn't know that, to be honest. They came out. It was like breaking news 2 Mondays ago. They just came out. You kind of threw me for a loop there. I wasn't. I didn't realize that. I'm kind of I'm not that I'm confused. I'm conflicted. I'm not sure if I think it's a great idea or if it's a really bad idea. I'm trying to think of it as a player as well as like an event promoter, because that's really what I do, and like trying to put my different hats on and think about how I feel about each one. I really don't know. Like it's wild. It's a weird, wild time that we live in, but
it is.
I guess we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it works out well. Casino etiquette, or the unwritten rules of gambling. And we're not even going to talk about just poker. We just want to talk about unwritten rules in gambling, right?
Right.
Where do you want to start? I know we both wanted to start. Let's legitimately start where you start at the casino. Brandon, where do you start at the casino? We're high rollers. Where do we start?
In these non-COVID times, since it's closed during COVID.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
that
still
sucks.
Closed. I know. But you start at the valet.
Valet. Pull up front.
Drive past the parking, through into the little loop-de-loop.
Loop-de-loop's good. Drive
and
about.
You get out of your car.
Yep.
And you hand the guy your keys.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you turn the car off?
No. Depends on if there's a line or not.
Oh, you got the start button.
I do.
So you bring the keys to the guy with the car still running, but the keys are out of it.
Yeah.
Does the car turn off eventually if you leave it in? Like if you take the keys but don't turn it off, will it eventually turn off, or will it just run all day?
I think it'll just run all day. I don't know. I get confused. Sometimes I put my car in park and I open the door and it's like it shuts off automatically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Anyways.
My car's too smart for me. Anyways.
I hate when I'm dumber than my car.
I know. Hey, my car is pretty smart. I give it some credit.
That's true. I don't know if that's a testament to your car or a put down for Brando, but
right. Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. All right. So when you pull it up to the valet, what are like the first etiquette or unwritten rules that you're really supposed to be doing at that point? What do you do?
Well, I tip the guy on the way in.
Yeah. I'm on the way in tipper as well.
All right. And then if you're not on the way in tipper.
Yep.
Leave some money in your car.
$5, $10, $20, whatever your normal tip is. Leave something in the car so that way when he pulls the car around and you go, oh shit, I just donkeyed off all of my money plus every nickel I can get my hands on, and unfortunately I have nothing left to give you, and you don't want to be like, sorry bro, lost it all inside, because the next time he comes, if he remembers your ass, he's going to park your car in a dumpster.
Right.
Or he'll just leave it abandoned in Gary or something.
Oof, that's tough.
Who do I know that car got stolen from valet? Somebody like that I actually knew. Yeah, like actually stole his Lexus from the Horseshoe, played all day, went out, lost the ticket. He did lose the ticket. That's the story. I won't say who it is, but I do remember who it is. But he had told me, I don't want to embarrass him too much. He had lost the ticket, played poker, busto, goes out. I think it was during the WSOP. Says, hey, I forgot my ticket. He waited for like a half an hour, and he was like, why? The fuck is the delay here, guys? Like, it's a white Lexus. Just find the damn car. It's not that hard. Figure it out. And sure enough, somebody had found the ticket, turned it in, stolen the car, and was just joyriding. They found it like 2 days later in some like quarry.
Unbelievable.
Which always seems where I would want to dump a car. I would like jump out of the car while it's still rolling, and it would go off the cliff. That would be cool as shit. So the whole point of that story is, Brandon, when you go to the casino, unwritten rules, tip on the way in. I'm a big proponent of tipping on the way in. Sometimes over tipping, get you a better spot. Keep your car clean. Otherwise, birds shit on it. They park it too close. They might do burnouts. Yeah. Uh-huh. And then keep something in the car. If you are one of those people that is likely to go completely crazy in the casino and burn through every nickel you can get your hands on, some of us aren't like that. I don't know if I'm one of those people. Sometimes I have moments, I would say most of the time I can control my inner demons and I don't let them run wild, but occasionally I let them run out. And you have to do that every once in a while. Otherwise, the gambling demons just kind of get built up inside you and then you run bad for all time. Occasionally, you got to let them run free. And when you do, when you come back and you got the only thing left in your pocket is your ID and your valet ticket, you better make sure you have something in there because you can't give the guy the excuse. It's not cool to say, sorry, man, I lost all my money. Beat it. And then just drive your car away. It's not fair to the valet.
Or I only got hundreds because sometimes, you cash out, you buy them for $1,000, you cash out for $2,000. It was really $2,008, but you tip the dealer $3, you tip the cage $5.
Yep.
Now you got an even $3,000 in your pocket. You walk out and you're like, I ain't giving this guy 100.
Let's just keep going because I think that kind of does it for valet. It is my favorite line. Some of you guys have heard me say it. I always pull up to the valet when I used to go pre-COVID. I would pull up front, I always leave the car running. I just get out, leave the car. I mean, obviously the keys are in the car, it's running. And I always say, keep it up front. If I'm not back in 10 minutes, park it. And then I give him like a twomper or something. And then I go inside all cool guy. Like that's my shtick.
Yeah. How often have you made it back to the car before they parked it?
Nah, not very often, but it keeps it up front. I like to say, keep it up front. Keep it up front. It's cool. Makes more sense. Plus then you can look out and make sure your car is still there. They don't have to look for it. So whenever I lose a ticket, I just go out and be like, that's mine. Give it to me.
No,
it works nine times out of 10, which is good. All right. So when you're in a casino, we've really dwelled on the appropriateness of valet, which I think is important. If you're not a valet person, please fast forward through the last 3 minutes of the podcast. No big deal. I'm telling you this afterwards. If you were thinking, oh shit, maybe I want to use the valet, but I'm nervous about what to do, rewind, re-listen to the last 3 minutes of the podcast because that's good. But once you're in the casino, you mentioned two things. One, you tip the dealers at the end and you tip the cage. I think that's something that's very important that people don't do. And again, I've worked my entire life in industries that are tip dependent. I've really only had like 4 jobs my whole life. Caddy, you work all on tips. Bartender/waiter, all tip based. And then I had one 9-to-5 job that sucked. And then obviously now CCG. So really besides the last 2, like my other jobs were mostly tip based. So I remember what it's like to get a good tip. I remember what it's like to bust my ass at a table at Applebee's, getting this guy fucking whatever they serve at Applebee's. Is Applebee's even open anymore?
Yeah, Applebee's is, it's underrated. I mean,
serving these sizzler platters or whatever on Monday afternoons when it was like, get a free mashed potato, and the kids throwing mashed potatoes all over the place, and then it's a $48 bill. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? This place is a mess. It's going to take me forever, but hey, $48, that's like almost a $10 tip. Like,
absolutely.
For a 17-year-old Kenny, like, I was like, this is the nuts. And then you have that kid throw mashed potatoes all over the place. There's shit everywhere, and they left me like 80 cents. Like I wanted to murder the guy. I wanted to go out and find him and throw the 3 quarters in the nickel at him.
Like you'd rather him leave 0, so that way you can think maybe
0 is better than 80 cents, right? 80 cents is a bigger FU than if you didn't tip. So in general, if a normal tip is 18% and you leave 80 cents, you'd be better off just not tipping. Be like, you know what? I didn't enjoy my service, which again, I don't agree with, but I'll just say I can understand that. You know what? I didn't appreciate the service, so I'm not going to tip you. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's a flawed system and I'm not crazy about it. And I never not tip, and I get like really bad waitresses.
I get bad service too. And it's I tip 18% when the service sucks and 25% when it's good.
Yeah. It's funny in Texas at the Denny's across the street from Paramount.
God, you love that Denny's.
I do. I eat there. I eat my 1 meal a day there. I just get a big giant omelet. I get 2 eggs over easy on top. I get like 5 slices of bacon. Hey, it's great. And they just feed me Diet Cokes the whole time until my food's ready. But like during the week, it's a dead because I go at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and it's dead. Before I go to Paramount. But then on like Sundays when I'm going, it's like a Sunday and it's after church crowd. So like everybody's going for lunch or brunch or whatever the case, early dinners, whatever time I go over there. So when I go over there at like noon, like that shit's packed. Like it's super packed. But I always tip extremely well, like crazy well. Occasionally I'll be that guy that leaves like a 50 behind and it's like, you did great. pay my $8 bill and keep the rest. Thank you. Which is great. So like when they ran out of Diet Coke one time, the girl went across the street to the gas station to get me 2 Diet Cokes and bring them to me because she knows that I'm crazy tipping guy. And then another time there's like 30 people in line and the girl's like, hey, yeah, come with me. And they just like sneak me off and sit me down at a table. Like, it's great. So the nice thing is if you go to a place like the casino or a restaurant and you continue to go, you not only get great service, eventually if you're such a good customer, you get extraordinary service where you're going to get like, not even VIP doesn't explain what I get at Denny's. Like I get like freaking, I don't know, what would be like the top service you could get? Marilyn Monroe type service, right?
Right. You're a celebrity.
Thanks. I'm a celebrity customer there. They know me. When I come in, they all fight and figure out who's going to get me as a customer because they know I'm going to leave $40 on an $18 bill. And it's just like, you just got tipped $22 on an $18 bill,
And even in places as legit as the casino, those things still apply, and they're on like smaller scales.
For sure.
Like you're never going to be able to just like skip the list because
no.
But a lot of the, kind of like 50-50 decisions, like, oh, the guy said he's going to the ATM or the guy said he'll be back and it's been 8 minutes and you got a super good tipper. Even this happens at charity poker at the casino. If it's a regular everywhere. And
that's just human nature. 100%.
They win the 50-50s. It's like, I should really wait 2 more minutes, but this guy's amazing. He's kind of earned the right to, he's in there. Then if the other guy comes back, sorry, man, it was 11 minutes. You only got 10. We'll put you back on the top of the list.
Right. And you're a shitty tipper, and that's what happens. Good tipper goes broke and leaves. He's going to get 15 to 20 minutes. He's going to get some leeway. So it works both ways. And again,
it does.
You have to tip and be personable and be a good customer, right? Like, I just feel like, I know it's gambling. People get very mad. I have thrown chairs at casinos. 100%. I was asked to leave or kicked out. I have said some very insensitive things. Some of them were purposeful. Some of them were by accident because I was drinking in my younger days, and I was escorted from the premises. I have ripped cards, and they told me not to do it. You know what they did when they brought a new setup out, Brandon? I ripped it again.
Wow.
And then they asked me to leave. So it happens, but like you can't expect those things even on a good tipper. If you're also an asshole, then you're not going to get any kind of like beneficial stuff.
Right. The assholeness trumps the good tipper.
Correct. You have to make sure, and I don't like that term trumps. I try not to use that anymore. Nothing, silence.
Yeah,
I don't use it. I don't use it negatively anymore. I've omitted it, so it's great. Being a good customer, I think in general is like one of the unwritten rules. Like everybody's going to lose. You're at a casino or you're gambling. You're going to lose. If everybody won, it wouldn't be called gambling. It would be called winning. And Vegas would still be a desert where nobody would visit every single October, summer, and have a wonderful time. It wouldn't exist. Like you're going to lose. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you hope they balance out and you enjoy yourself while you're doing it. But you can't let those kind of emotions get the best of you and end up being a jerk, and then nobody wants to deal with you. And even though you're a pretty good tipper, when your like name gets bumped off the list because you've been on the call-in list for an hour and you haven't checked in again, they're going to bump you off. Like you're not going to get any kind of special treatment whatsoever. So tip well. Tip everybody. Occasionally overtip. Don't be a jerk. Be a good customer. And you'll get benefits that are exponentially better than the $8 tip that you gave the cage or the pit boss or the dealer, right?
I agree.
That's unwritten rule number 1.
So we're 21 minutes into the episode. I'm just making up a time, and we finally got
24 minutes.
Rule number 1.
Yeah, that's rule number 1. Don't be a dick. Guess. Be a good customer and tip everybody.
That goes a long way.
Yeah, you really only need one rule. If you only listen to one part of the podcast, that's the part to listen to.
Yep.
All right, what else we got?
After that, I'm out of rules.
No, there's other rules.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. Well, can we go to unwritten rule number 2? And it's not even really unwritten. It's just like...
It's an actual rule that nobody listens to?
Bring the amount of money that you're willing to win or lose, or that you're willing to lose.
And
to
only bring that amount. Whatever that amount is.
Make sure to bring that amount.
Yeah. don't be the person who goes to the casino with X amount of dollars. I have X amount of dollars in my budget that I can lose, and it won't affect me monetarily in the sense of I'll be mad, but it's not like I won't be able to pay my mortgage or my car payment or my cell phone bill. Right? You have that X amount of dollars. That could be $8. That could be 8,000. Nobody knows. It's whatever is best for you. But the problem is, what happens is you're at the casino, you start losing, you lose all of the money, that X number, and then you go to the ATM. And the ATM is like the worst slot machine to go to because it's always a winner and it always costs you a buttload in fees. Like casino fees at the ATM are ridiculous.
The ATM fees at the casino, you mean?
That
was a little dyslexia right there. But yeah, it's like $7.99 and then it's two ways. You know, the bank charges $7.99 and the horseshoe charges $7.99.
And they only let you take out how much? I've never taken money out at the ATM there.
I don't know, you can do like $800.
Oh, you can? Okay. I know some places, like in Paramount, you can only take out, I think, 500 at a time or 600.
But
it sucks because if you're playing like a 2-5 game and you need like 2K, like you got to rip that thing 4 times. Yeah, and you still don't have your 2K, and you still paid like $40 in fees, $50 in fees. Like, what a bad beat!
It is pretty bad. Also, stay away from this is just not even an unwritten rule. This is just advice. Don't do a cash advance. That shit's like 18%,
and it's the last thing to come off of your bill. If you got a $10,000 credit card and you take a $2,000 cash advance and then you put $2,000 worth of gas on there over the next 6 months and you pay off $2,000, you still have the $2,000 cash advance on there. It's the last bit that comes off your credit card forever. If you never pay the balance off, that number will always be at the bottom, and they charge you the top numbers for it. It's ridiculous. It's awful.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So it's at the bottom and they charge you the top number. Yeah. Wow.
Correct. I mean, like literally you would have to pay off the credit card, balance it at 0 to get rid of that cash advance. Otherwise, you're going to pay some kind of extra percentage or whatever the top percentage. My finance teacher in college, which is the only professor, I should say, the only professor from college that I actually learned anything from. And that was one of the things he taught us and I learned from. He was like the director of the finance department. He had degrees from Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Not great. They're the Ivy League schools of the South. That's what they like to call them in Mississippi and the South. But they're still good schools. I mean, they're not bad schools by any sense of mean. But the man also had a doctorate from Harvard. He's probably the only person ever to have a degree from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Harvard. Do you know a second very famous person who has a degree from both Mississippi State and Ole Miss? And I promise you, you know this person. You have 100%, you know who this is.
The suspense is killing me.
Oh, John Grisham. The author,
I don't know who that is.
Author who wrote The Firm, Pelican Brief, all of those, like The Rainmaker, all of those.
Here I am thinking you're going to say like Phil Hellmuth or like
no
Tom Cruise or something. Did you go with
Tom Cruise is
author?
In. He's in. Well, John Grisham's like a super famous like author. He's like got to be like one of the top guys ever. The Firm. Nothing?
Nah, I got nothing.
I
know 2 authors, J.K. Rowling and Stephen King. Short of that,
he is the Stephen King of lawyer books.
Okay.
And he also went to Mississippi State for undergrad. He went to law school at Ole Miss. So, anyways,
cool story,
trivia now. Cool story, bro. Unwritten rules of the casino episode, or number 3. Don't make fun of your boss on a podcast that's recorded that lots of people listen to. It's a terrible idea.
You know, in the overlay world, it's 50-50. So it's not really,
it's true. Occasionally, you do have to leave the podcast world and end up in real life, but that's fine. I'll remember that. We'll get even. I'm going to bide my time.
But guys, also, don't be the guy, while we're back on rule
correct.
number 2, don't bring 500 when you want to lose 2,000.
Correct. Just bring 2,000.
And then borrow 500 from your buddy or Zelle
don't
or
do that
QuickPay or run around the whole poker room saying, hey,
you got money,
Venmo.
Venmo.
Like,
Zelle.
dude, just bring the money.
Cash
If you're going to go to the poker room,
Bitcoin. Ethereum.
Bring the money. I'm taking all Ethereum, by the way. If anybody wants
something
to sell
crazy.
me Ethereum.
Ethereum's up. It's at like 3,400. I just checked a little while ago because my VFriends, my NFT that I purchased with Matt, we each bought one.
Yep.
I bought it for 2,500.
Yep.
It is currently selling for
8,000.
15 Ethereums, ETHs.
No.
Yes.
15 Ethereum?
Big Al, who you would know, does all the shoes and stuff, ticket broker guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. He bought one for $1,100, sold it recently for $72,000. It's insane. I have no idea why people are buying these things. I don't get it. I feel like there's something nefarious going on that I don't know about.
15 Ethereum is 51,000.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do a whole article on, or a whole podcast on NFTs. I got a crazy NFT for you guys too.
Yeah, and then actually Al was talking about how Gary Vee was like promoting his own NFT to drive the prices up, and he like owns half of them. Blah. It was this whole debate of like it's unregulated and very weird, and I understand that it's like it's an interesting debate, but anyways, we'll get past that. So, rule number 1: tipping, over tipping. Don't be a jerky customer. Be a great customer. Number 2: bring money and have a budget in the sense of this is how much I want to lose and this is where I want to go. So that's cool. Number 3. Well, let's talk about some table game rules. What are some good table game rules? Do you play any table games?
I mean, yeah, I play all the table games.
I mean, me too. Blackjack.
I'm not baccarat though. I don't understand. I understand the whole premise and most of the rules. I just don't know perfectly when they get an extra card or not, and I don't know if like I'm sweating it or not. So I stay away from baccarat just because I don't feel comfortable.
Right.
But I don't know. We can talk about blackjack. We can talk about
just etiquette rules for blackjack.
Don't stand on 16 against a king when you're first up and ruin everything else for the table because you feel like it's gonna be.
Let's talk about that because there are some. You get that card right, and it shows you like it's the original hand graph of like the hand matrix that will tell you like if you should be raising or if you should be folding. Right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what are those hand matrix? Right?
Yeah, it's a hand matrix. It's either
the original for blackjack, and it's very simple. It's like if you have 8s, this is what you do. If you have 10-5, this is what you do. If it tells you exactly what the best odds. If you play true casino odds and make sure that you do it correctly, this is going to give you the best odds to win. And
hit, stand, or double, right? I mean, those are basically that.
Or surrender. That's some places will, if they allow that, that's something you might do. But yeah, if you're the first person out and they got a 10 and a 6 and the dealer's showing a 10, like I mean, you could do whatever you want. It's your money, but odds are with the entire table if you actually hit on 16. And I will say this, I don't mind when people want to stay on 16. What I mind is when they do the flip-flop. It's the guy who says, I'll run it once or run it twice. Just pick a side. Run it once or run it twice. Don't flip-flop between the two. And when it's better for you or not better for you, like just go one way or the other. That's part of the etiquette, right? So like just do it one way. Don't this time you're like, I got a feeling that I'm going to stay. And then the next time you get a 16, you're like, I'm going to hit it this time. What are you doing? Pick a side. Either hit it or don't. I don't care which one it is, but don't be wishy-washy and flip-flop. I hate the flip-floppers.
And it's one thing in running it once and running it twice. Because if you get so buried, you just want to run it once. You're done reducing the variance. You go, I'm one time for the rest of the night. Or, it's a small pot.
But again, you're not flip-flopping. You've turned a switch off. You've completely gone to the dark side.
Yeah. When you go hit, stand, hit, stand, hit, stand, hit,
which is
Like,
random.
what is this guy doing?
Right. Pisses me off.
It does. And of course, sometimes you would have taken the bus card and then you give him the bus card or vice versa though. Sometimes.
And again, it can go backward. Yeah, it can go either direction. It's really not a huge difference. And I never get mad at people when they don't know how to play and they like do random ass stuff. It is what it is. I was playing at a casino at the Quad Cities and I was up. So I just keep upping my bet. It's the Ken standard when you start with $25 bets and you just go up from there as you get more chips. So I'm up to like $300, $400, $500, $600 on a hand. And I will up the bet if I feel like there's a lot of low cards coming out in the last 2 previous hands. So I feel like more face cards are coming out. I definitely will up my bet. It's not counting cards, but it's my own personal belief of like, hey, the last 13 cards, there's only been one face card. Like, get some more money out there. Like, there got to be face cards coming, right? And
you would think.
You would think. So this is the exact scenario. I'm in first base, which means I'm the first guy off at a shoot. I do it. Bing, bing, boom. I get two face cards. Guy to my left playing second base who's got a $25 chip up. He's got two queens. Couple of players down at the end. There's lots of face cards. And literally, like, it couldn't have gotten any better. The dealer is showing a 5, which is not as good as a 6, but it's good. Like, I'm excited. Yeah. I got $600 winner here. Like, I'm ready to go. I knock, tap, no bets. I don't need anything. Wave them off. Get away from my cards. The guy with the $25 bet to the left of me
splits the queens.
He splits queens. And then one guy goes, whoa. He's like, Kenny's got $600 in this hand. And his exact response was, I don't give an F. He said the whole thing. I don't give an F what he has. I came here to gamble. And he reaches from like way downtown behind him and like power drops his chips down and then leaves a green one for 50. And I was just like, I'll just give you $50 to not be a dipshit and fuck up my hand. But fine. Sure enough, it could not have been better. What's the third card that comes off the top of the deck?
Face card.
A queen.
Yep.
So he splits that one. And then he gets like a 7, then he gets like a 3, and then at least he didn't hit on either one of those. And then he gets another face card, which you can't split, which he tried to split. The dealer tried to explain to him that you can't actually split those. And, they kept going from there. And it ended up I won. And, but it was mildly scary. Like, not scary, but,
He altered it
He altered it. There were a lot of different cards that came out. And a lot of face cards. I also felt like I would have definitely hit up another big hand if those face cards were still in the deck, but it is what it is. There's nothing you can change. So etiquette-wise, try to be a normal person and don't do that. And if you do, perfectly fine. It's your money. Do whatever you want with it. Be prepared for some backlash. I never understand when people do asinine things at a table and then they're surprised by the reactions they get from the other players. It's like going all in the small blind when it's just you and the big blind. Like, that's just crazy. Why would you do that? And they're expecting a chop and you just jam all in for $200. Like, it's not going to win you any favors at the table.
Also, another one, switching games a little bit to roulette. If you have a $50 round black and the guy's got a $500 round red and it hits black, like, don't celebrate or,
correct.
Fist pump and high five your buddies. And, as much as you are excited because you won and you don't care about the other guy, there's still some like etiquette and like,
that's how
because we're all still playing against the casino.
Right.
So
and that's
even though you're not on each other's teams, you're still on the same
kind of
side.
Together. Well, it's also like, that's how fights start in casinos is by being that guy, right? Like, you got a $5 bet out and you hit blackjack and the guy next to you loses $800 on his 4 hands of $200 each.
Right. And you're high-fiving.
Yeah. And you're for your 5. Right. Like, act as if you've been there before. That's all.
No, I'm usually the guy with $500 on red and wanting to fight the guy who's got $50 on black and is fist pumping. But now, and then switching games again while we're on the same page. Craps. If you bet the don't and you lose, you can feel free to laugh at that guy in his face.
Oh yeah, you get a person.
If you're betting against the whole table, everybody's rooting against.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. I don't even know why they make that a bet. I think they're casino plants that are just out there to stir up trouble on a good table. I think that's all it is. 'Cause nobody would do that. It's terrible. The only time I've ever bet the don't come line is when I'm by myself. I'm the only person playing at the table. And that's perfectly fine. Then it's still me against the world, right? And I'm rolling against myself, which seems odd that they would let me roll that I can screw up my own roll. And I'm just like, I finally beat the system. I'm going to totally screw up this roll. And then I roll great, and I bet the wrong side. So anyways.
Never fails.
Never fails. What else do we have for casino etiquette? We talked about kind of some table game stuff. Anything poker specific? I think this is one
there's the check it down.
Okay, we're going to save that one for last. That'll be the end piece because I think it's important. But I want to do one before that, and it's the call-in list. What drives me insane is, and it happened at CCG when we were limited to like 4 tables, and the list is like 12, 15, 20, 30 people long. It gets even crazier if you go to like the Horseshoe Casino in Hammond. I mean, how deep is that? How deep is that PLO list in like on a Friday? Like it's ridiculous. It's like 60 players, right?
Deep. It's pretty deep. You know, I'm going to give you a live look at what it is right now at 3:00 on a Tuesday.
But what I want to explain is, though, let's say it's 30 people long. Out of those 30 people, there's at least 15 of them that have no intention of ever going. And I feel like it's a deterrent for other players and it's a deterrent for the game. If you have no plans of going or you're leaving, like how many times at CCG do we get down to like at the end of the night and seats start opening up and you start calling guys, okay, hey, Bill, I know you've been waiting for an hour and a half, but your seat's ready. Nah, I went home. Cool. Thanks for letting us know. Let's go to the next one. Mark, yeah, hey, your seat's better. Nah, I left. You just give my seat away. And you call the next 6 guys on the list and every single one of them are no longer waiting. It's like, have the courtesy of going to the floor and be like, you know what, you can take my name off the list. I'm going home. I wish more people would do that as like a collective good. Shit, all we hear about right now is kind of don't be selfish on the news and do stuff for other people. Casino players, go up to the floor and be like, you know what, I'm leaving. I take my name off the list.
It's pretty easy.
It is, and it will make it better. So that way, when you're the guy who comes in later and you see a list of 30 people and you just leave, I don't even put my name on the list. And to find out of those 30 people, a third of them are actually waiting. Like I might have waited if it was only 12 people and not 30 people on the list, right?
Yep.
So
also,
that's my 2 cents.
People need to not be offended when like they walk in and they're first up for the PLO game. But then a seat opens up and somebody else sits, and they're like, whoa, what happened? I was first. I was like, well, you were first, but there was 3 people that called in. 2 of them now showed up.
Right.
So now
you go
you're
from
third.
first to
you
third.
were first.
Right.
I didn't tell you wrong. You were first, but now you're third. And like,
which seems unfair, but what does that mean? That means you should be calling in. Right. And then you don't have to worry about it. And
calling in works well for everybody. Yeah. It's good for the game runners because we know that there's a player coming.
Correct.
It's good for you because you have your spot reserved no matter how many people show up before you. As long as you're there within your 2 hours of calling in, you have your spot on the list.
Right.
So it's a win-win for everybody.
Everybody wins. And if you don't show up, at some point, they're going to stop putting your name on that list because you're a guy who regularly doesn't show up. But, even still, like...
Until then...
Until that point happens, you become a bad customer, and then you get the bad customer reviews and service,
which you need to overtip to get back, which is unwritten rule number 1.
It's rule number 1, all full circle. Okay, What is the number 1 casino
unwritten rule of poker?
Yeah, unwritten rule of poker that is an etiquette rule. It's based in etiquette. Is that a word? I don't think that's a word.
It's got to be a word.
It's totally not a word. I just made that up. That is based on just kind of common sense, and it is collectively better for the field of players, but it's actually the definition of cheating and collusion. Brandon, what is it? When you're in a tournament and one player goes all in and he gets 2 callers, so your 3-way action, so the dealer will say, hold your card, sir, we've got side action. What happens on that side action that is an unwritten rule of poker, but is actually very much against the rules of the game?
Check. Check it down. Oh, you're checking, I'm checking. You're checking, check.
And the unwritten rule is that you're only supposed to bet into a 3-way pot when one player is all in if you've got a very strong hand to indicate.
And usually you do it
get
on
out.
The river.
Correct. You let all 5 cards come out.
Even if you turn a jack high flush, in any normal circumstances, you want to get 2 streets of value. You're going to bet the turn. You're going to bet the river.
Mm-hmm.
But in this specific circumstance, you're going to kind of, protect the whole field.
The unwritten rule is that you should check it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're going to check it and protect the whole field because maybe the guy all in has a queen high flush and the other guy you're checking back with has 2 pair. And so if that board pair's on the river, well, yeah, you lost the pot, but you protected the field because there's still a player out.
You benefited the field because a player got knocked out and everybody's chip stacks.
And you're included into that field, and generally there's pay jumps involved, and it's mutually beneficial for everybody but the guy all in.
But it is literally that instance is the definition of collusion. 100%. Collusion, soft play, cheating, whatever you want to call it, depends on how crazy you want to be, but that's what it is. 100%. There's no way to look at it. 2 players are colluding together to knock a third player out of the hand by checking hands that they normally would bet or soft playing into one another so that they can get this other player out, which I find incredibly weird that people do that. And if you are the person who bets and like you bluff on the river and, you know, you bet like a small bet on the flop and a small bet on the turn, then you bluff on the river and the other guy folds the winning hand that would have knocked out a player.
The other way.
Right. And then it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we couldn't act. You're supposed to check it down. Like, well, no, actually, sir, that's against the rules. I'm not supposed to do that. You jerk.
And then the other guy's like, wait, you would only bet that river if you're protecting the guy that's all in because you want him to win the pot.
Right.
And then it's like, by following the rules, you're viewed as a cheater.
Correct.
And by cheating, you're viewed as following the rules.
It's the most wild tournament.
Unwritten rule.
Yes, it's so crazy. It
really is.
It's the nut. You're right. By not cheating, you're a good guy, and if you actually followed the rules and try to bet him off the hand, he folds. He caught me. I was bluffing, and the other guy wins. Then you're dubbed a cheater for playing by the rules.
Yeah, it's weird. But
Super
now
weird.
I want to put a little asterisk to this before we
asterisk.
end. Whatever. I can't talk. Okay, I still have teeth problems.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a side pot, all those rules go out the window, and so don't think that the guy's a jerk or an asshole for betting. If it's not a dry side and there's actually money to be won, then there's like everything goes out the window. So I'm like, oh, why'd you bet? Well, I bet because I wanted that side pot. I could break even on the hand if I just win. So people kind of don't realize that when there's money to be won on the side, that unwritten rule of checking it down goes out the window, and the guy's not a jerk for betting and bluffing because he won the side pot.
Right.
So there you go. So how to cheat correctly.
How to cheat correctly. Maybe that's how I'll name this episode. That's going to do it for the unwritten rules of really gambling. I don't even want to say poker. Yeah. The unwritten rules of gambling, and how they pertain to what you do when you're at a casino and kind of different things. And I think it's good. I think it's stuff that people don't always talk about. And, like if you didn't know you weren't supposed to talk in somebody's backswing while playing golf and you've never played golf with anybody else but by yourself, then you wouldn't know that it was not normal to talk. And, it's nice to have somebody tell you kind of up front, hey, this is some of the things that you should be thinking about to kind of improve everyone's experience.
To sum it all up, it's more like just be aware of the surroundings, right? Like be aware that this valet guy works on tips and is going to run and hustle. And the more you give him, the better you're going to get service-wise. And yes, just because you won a $25 bet, like there's people around you that just lost thousands. So be aware. It's not all about you. There's a whole other world around you that sometimes you don't perceive. But I'm not saying be careful, but it's like, be aware that there's other things happening besides your $25 bet and besides you rolling up to the casino to gamble. Right. People are working, people are playing, people are gambling. There's a lot going on, so be aware.
Some people are doing it professionally, some or as a profession. Right. Some people are just doing it to get drunk and have a good time. So
people get annoyed when you ask them for $1,000, even though you're trading $1,000 Venmo for $1,000 cash. I want my cash. I don't want my shit in my
casino
bank account.
Don't take Venmo.
They don't take Venmo. Hey, maybe we should create a system. Actually, I'm not even going to talk about this on the air.
No.
Wait till we hang up.
Oh, nice. That'll be one of the recorded phone calls that we don't talk about on the podcast.
Right.
Well, thank you as always for listening. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Come and check us out in Chicago anytime. You could also see us in Central Illinois. I feel like a band, and I'm telling people where we're going to be at. We're going to be making a Texas tour here shortly to come down and see some of our Texas peeps as soon as that is possible, which hopefully will be soon. Vegas might be a thing. We'll see what happens there. Other than that, thank you as always for listening and supporting the podcast. We appreciate it. Keep an eye out for that PointsBet little promo code coming out soon. And Brandon, you got anything else for us?
No, I got nothing else. Farewell, everyone.
Farewell, everybody.
Free money coming up.
Free money coming up, hopefully. All right, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.